have to start asking ourselves, how many gifts are buried under the fear and doubt? How many gifts are buried under equipping? The question is, if no one is coming to save you, what are you going to build? If no one is coming to rescue you, if there is no help coming, if there is no charity coming, if there is no development finance coming, then what are you going to build? Because we've seen some of these things stop coming. We've seen global changes have been happening, and things have stopped coming. So the question is, what if nobody was coming? Then what are you going to build? What if we stopped waiting for rescue and started working? So the thing is that there's been this mindset, there's been this thinking that somebody is going to come and carry out some sort of development finance, some sort of rescue mission, and we have structured our governments and our education system and our healthcare like somebody's coming, but nobody holds us in their responsibility. We are not anybody's problem. We are our own problem. So Africa's transformation must be self-led, and hope must be our North Star. We have to start looking at Africa as a place where we build for ourselves, we solve for ourselves, we create for ourselves, because until we start to understand that no one owes us any debt, because no one does and no one should, then we are going to continue to live in a place where we are not owning our own peace. We're not creating our own development. So when we own our own peace, our own part of the solution, when we own our own action, even if the action is small, then we will start to create value that we own. So we have to have this mindset of responsibility, because being responsible for your action, being responsible for your own development, being responsible for your change is the first form of awakening, is the wake up. When we start being responsible for our own development, for our own value creation, then we start to wake up from this slumber, from this sleep, where we feel like value has to be imported. So there is this idea of equipping Africa. Everybody talks about equipping Africa, equipping leaders, training leaders, equipping. But we've been so equipped that we are not activated. I can equip you forever, but if I don't activate you, then you can't take action. So we have to go beyond equipping and get into activation. We have to start asking ourselves, how many gifts are buried under the fear and doubt? How many gifts are buried under equipping and are not yet activated? So we have to start thinking, okay, what is the seed that God has put in us? What is the seed that has been laid in our village, in our town? And then we have to start looking at ways of creating movements of change movements. But movement requires activation. Movement doesn't stop at equipping. Because if we don't activate, there will not be movement, there will not be action. So we have to go beyond equipping, we have to go beyond training, we have to go beyond capacity development. There has been so much capacity development in Africa that we are over-capacitated and under-activated. Everybody's doing equipping, capacity development, leadership development. We are developing, we are capacitating, and we are equipping, but there's no activation, so there is no movement. So we have to stop capacitating the overcapacity. There is over-capacitation. I think that there has been enough training, enough education, enough PhDs in Africa that it is time to go beyond capacity building and get into activation. get into speed, momentum. We need momentum. So we have to start with the gift that we have, and we have to start thinking, how can we deploy them? You need to start thinking, what is it that I have that I want to start deploying? Because the soil in Africa is ready, and what is really missing is motion. So capacity building is great, but motion is even greater. So in order for us to get to a place where we are creating value beyond aid and beyond charity, we have to start seeing ourselves as people that are capable of taking action. So we have to revisit action. So what can we do for ourselves that we are still waiting for others to do for us? That's a good question. What is it that we are capable of doing, but we're actually waiting for other people to do for us? That's a big question to ask. What is it that people are doing for us that we could do for ourselves? So every step toward self-reliance has to reclaim dignity, and it has to multiply value. So we have to start thinking of ourselves as people capable of reclaiming dignity and of building value. So start by choosing a solution. Choose a problem and then find a solution. Because you are not a project. You are a producer. You've been a producer from the beginning. You've been somebody capable of creating value. But along the way, somehow you have become a project, and you've become comfortable with becoming a project. There are projects everywhere in Africa. Everybody has a project. You know, there's a project for this and a project for that, and this project, this development project. But the question that I have for you is, when are you going to stop being a project and become a producer? Because when you are a project, you are not the producer. When you are a project for the producer. Every time you are a project, every time you are in a project proposal, you are not the producer, you are the project. So we have to go beyond being a project and start becoming the producer. So we have to start looking at every problem that we encounter, not as a stop sign, but as a signal. The problems around us are signaling to us that we have to take action, that we have to stop seeing obstacles and look at obstacles as invitations to create value. There's a lot of problems in Africa. Africa has a lot of problems. But we have to start thinking of those problems as activation points, as invitations to create value, to create resources, to innovate. So if we look at problems as centers of innovation, then our problems start becoming solutions. So you have to name the problem and name the solution and start working towards solving the problem, because our problems are not curses. Our problems are invitations for us to start creating solutions. So you already have enough to start. Everybody has enough to start. So the miracle that we need is not something big. The miracle that we need is to visit the unused resources and activate them and create some sort of action. So you don't need more. You just need to believe, because you already have more than enough. So we have to start building with what's in our hands right now. What Africa needs, what you need to create value, is to start with what you have. What do you have? I mean, I have been to villages in Africa where people have become millionaires growing sugarcane. I won't tell you what millionaires is in shillings or francs, but they have made a lot of money, just growing sugarcane. People have made a lot of money raising cows. So the question is, what do you have in your hands, and how can you activate it to create movement? Because movement is what creates value. It's not being a project. So today, I want us to start thinking about how do we create movement? How do we create motion? How do we create momentum? How do we stop being projects and become producers? Because there is so much resources around us that if we start thinking as producers, then we are going to create so much value that we won't even know what to do with it.